Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something that makes us all a little uncomfortable, but also profoundly human: vulnerability. Often misunderstood as weakness, vulnerability is, in fact, the cornerstone of courage, connection, and growth. Let's dive. Imagine standing on the edge of a high diving board, looking down at the pool below. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and a little voice in your head whispers, "What if I fall? What if I look foolish?" That moment when every fiber of your being is urging you to retreat is vulnerability in action. And yet, it's precisely in stepping off that diving board, despite your fear, that courage is born. Vulnerability isn't about being fearless, it's about being real in the face of uncertainty. True courage doesn't come from knowing exactly what will happen or having a guarantee of success. It comes from showing up fully even when the outcome is unknown. Think about it, every brave act you've ever witnessed or experienced was laced with risk, discomfort, and exposure. Whether it was expressing your feelings, trying something new, or standing up for what you believed in, there was always an element of vulnerability. Courage doesn't happen in isolation from vulnerability, it grows from it. Vulnerability is the raw, unfiltered truth of who we are, and courage is the decision to let that truth be seen. It's saying, "I'm scared, but I'll try anyway." It's admitting I don't have all the answers, but I'll take the first step. It's choosing to be present in situations where failure, rejection, or judgment are possible, because what's on the other side of that risk is worth it. Consider the quiet but powerful courage of a single parent who admits they need help, or the bravery of a young artist sharing their work for the first time. These acts might not make headlines, but they are profound acts of courage rooted in vulnerability. And here's the remarkable thing: each time we step into that space of uncertainty, our capacity for courage expands. It's like a muscle we train by repeatedly choosing to show up, even when we're terrified. Vulnerability allows us to rewrite the stories we tell ourselves about fear and failure. Instead of seeing them as evidence of our inadequacy, we can see them as necessary steps in the process of becoming. It's not that we're fearless, it's that we've learned to trust ourselves to handle whatever comes next. And that trust, that belief in our ability to rise, is the essence of courage. So the next time you feel that familiar pang of vulnerability, remember this is the birthplace of courage. It's the space where fear and bravery meet, and it's where the most meaningful parts of our lives begin. There's a unique power in showing up as your true self, but it's not always easy. We live in a world that often encourages us to wear masks, polished versions of ourselves, designed to fit in, gain approval, or avoid criticism. These masks might help us feel safe in the moment, but over time, they create a barrier between who we truly are and the connections we long for. Authenticity requires us to strip away those masks and reveal the person underneath. And that takes vulnerability. To be authentic, we have to risk being seen for who we are, not who we think the world wants us to be. It means embracing imperfection and letting go of the exhausting pursuit of trying to be everything for everyone. When we choose vulnerability, we're making a bold declaration: this is me. This is my story, my truth, my voice. It's an act of courage to stand in your own truth, especially in a world that often pressures us to conform. Vulnerability asks us to share our fears, admit when we're wrong, and acknowledge when we're struggling. And in doing so, we open the door to authenticity, the kind of living where we are aligned with our deepest values and true essence. Authenticity doesn't mean sharing everything with everyone. It means being selective about who you trust with your heart. It's about creating relationships where you can be fully seen and known without judgment. These relationships thrive not because we present ourselves as perfect, but because we're willing to be real. And here's the paradox: when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we invite others to do the same. It's a chain reaction. Our willingness to be authentic creates a ripple effect, fostering deeper trust and connection. Think about the people you're drawn to. Chances are it's not because they're flawless or have it all together. It's because they're genuine. They own their imperfections, laugh at their mistakes, and speak from the heart. Their authenticity is magnetic, and it resonates because it reminds us that we too are enough just as we are. But living authentically isn't always easy. There will be moments when vulnerability feels too risky, when the fear of rejection or judgment looms large. Yet, the alternative, living a life that isn't truly yours, is far more costly. Authenticity frees us from the exhausting cycle of trying to prove our worth. It allows us to stand firmly in who we are, even when it feels uncomfortable. In the end, the rewards of vulnerability and authenticity far outweigh the risks. When we choose to show up as our true selves, we give others permission to do the same. And that's where real connection begins, not in our perfection, but in our shared humanity. Being authentic is a declaration that we are worthy of love and belonging, exactly as we are. Growth doesn't happen in the safety of our comfort zones. It happens when we stretch ourselves beyond what feels familiar and predictable. Vulnerability is at the very heart of this process because it challenges us to face uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. It's in these moments when we dare to try something new, risk failure, or admit we don't have all the answers that growth begins. Think about the moments in your life that changed you, the moments where you learned the most about yourself or the world around you. Were they moments of ease and comfort, or were they moments where you faced a challenge or took a risk? Growth isn't neat or predictable, it's messy and often uncomfortable. Vulnerability is the bridge that takes us from where we are to where we want to be. When we embrace vulnerability, we open ourselves to possibility. We give ourselves permission to explore new paths, even when the outcomes are uncertain. Whether it's starting a new career, pursuing a dream, or building a relationship, these pursuits require us to risk failure, rejection, and disappointment. But without vulnerability, we'd stay stuck in the same patterns, never daring to take the leaps that lead to transformates. Vulnerability also teaches us resilience. It's not about avoiding discomfort or shielding ourselves from pain. It's about learning to navigate those experiences with courage. Each time we step into vulnerability, we're building emotional strength. We're proving to ourselves that we can face uncertainty and come out stronger on the other side. And with each step, we grow not just in skill or knowledge, but in confidence and self-trust. Consider the role vulnerability plays in learning. When we're learning something new, we're inevitably exposed to the possibility of making mistakes or not being good at it right away. It can feel uncomfortable or even embarrassing, but it's a necessary part of the process. Growth requires us to be willing to say, I don't know yet, or I'm not there yet. It's in this willingness to be imperfect that mastery and understanding are born. Vulnerability also allows us to deepen our relationships, which are essential to personal growth. When we share our fears, dreams, and struggles with others, we create space for connection and support. These relationships, built on trust and authenticity, challenge us to see ourselves more clearly and to grow in ways we couldn't on our own. They hold up a mirror to our strengths and our blind spots, pushing us to evolve. Perhaps the most powerful way vulnerability fuels growth is by helping us redefine failure. When we step into vulnerability, we start to see failure not as an endpoint, but as a stepping stone. It becomes part of the journey, a necessary teacher that helps us refine our approach and build resilience. The more we embrace vulnerability, the less we fear failure, and the more willing we are to take risks that lead to growth. In the end, vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's the willingness to step into the unknown, to try, to stumble, and to rise again. It's the courage to say, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm willing to grow. And that willingness is what transforms us. Through vulnerability, we discover not only who we are, but also who we have the potential to become. There's something profoundly human about vulnerability. It's a shared experience that connects us on the deepest levels. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we're opening a door to empathy and creating space for authentic connection. It's not about having all the answers or presenting a polished version of ourselves. It's about showing up with our real, unguarded selves. When we share our struggles, our fears, or our imperfections, something remarkable happens. Instead of pushing people away, vulnerability draws them closer. It says, I'm human, just like you. In a world where we often feel pressure to appear strong and in control, vulnerability cuts through the noise. It reminds us that we're not alone in our experiences and that others too carry their own silent battles. Empathy thrives in the presence of vulnerability. When someone shares their story with us, it invites us to step into their shoes and feel what they're feeling. It's not about solving their problems or offering advice. It's about being present, listening, and saying, I see you, I hear you, I'm here with you. This shared understanding is what makes us feel connected. It bridges the gap between me and you and creates a powerful sense of us. Think about the moments in your life when you felt truly seen and understood. Chances are those moments weren't about grand gestures or perfect words. They were about someone being there for you in your vulnerability. Maybe it was a friend who sat with you in silence after a loss, or a loved one who held space for your tears without judgment. Those moments remind us of the profound impact of empathy and the connections that grow from it. Vulnerability also encourages others to open up. It's a chain reaction. When we take the first step and share our authentic selves, we give others permission to do the same. It's as if we're saying it's safe to be real here. This mutual exchange of vulnerability creates a foundation of trust and intimacy, whether in friendships, families, or communities. But fostering empathy and connection through vulnerability isn't always easy. It requires courage to let our guard down and take the risk of being misunderstood or judged, yet the reward is worth it. Authentic relationships, those built on mutual understanding and trust, can only thrive when vulnerability is present. They're the relationships where we feel free to be ourselves without the fear of rejection or ridicule. Vulnerability also challenges the stigma of perfection. When we share our struggles and imperfections, we remind others that it's okay not to have it all together. This dismantling of unrealistic expectations creates a culture of empathy, where people feel less isolated in their struggles and more supported in their humanity. It's a powerful shift that can ripple outward, transforming not only individual relationships, but entire communities. In essence, vulnerability is the thread that weaves us together. It strips away pretense and allows us to meet each other where we truly are. It's in the honest, messy, and unfiltered moments of life that we build the strongest bonds. And through those connections, we find a sense of belonging that reminds us we're never truly alone. Shame is a quiet and insidious force. It creeps in often unnoticed at first, whispering lies about who we are and our worth. It tells us that our mistakes define us, that we're not good enough, or that if people truly knew us, they wouldn't love us. Shame thrives in secrecy, feeding off our silence and growing stronger with every effort we make to hide the parts of ourselves we're most afraid to reveal. But shame has a weakness: it cannot survive being spoken aloud. The moment we name our shame and share it with someone who has earned the right to hear it, we begin to take away its power. Shame depends on isolation. It convinces us that we are alone in our experiences, that no one else could possibly understand or feel the same way. Yet, when we open up and speak our truth, we discover something profound: we're not alone. Sharing our shame requires vulnerability, and that can feel terrifying. The fear of judgment or rejection looms large, making silence seem like the safer option. But silence isn't safe, it's suffocating. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and unworthiness. By speaking out, we break that cycle. We give voice to our pain and invite others to meet us in it, to say, I see you, and you're not alone. The antidote to shame is empathy, and empathy can only exist in the presence of connection. When we share our shame with someone who listens without judgment, who responds with compassion and understanding, something transformative happens. We begin to see ourselves through their eyes, not as flawed or broken, but as human. Empathy dissolves the isolation that shame relies on and reminds us that we are inherently worthy of love and belonging. But sharing our shame doesn't mean airing it to the world indiscriminately. It's about choosing the right people, those who've earned our trust, who can hold space for our vulnerability without diminishing it. These are the people who will sit with us in our pain, not trying to fix it or explain it away, but simply being present and reminding us that we are not defined by our shame. Naming our shame also helps us reclaim our power. When we keep it hidden, shame dictates our actions and decisions, shaping our lives in ways we may not even realize. It makes us smaller, quieter, less willing to take risks or show up authentically. But when we name it, we take back control. We begin to see shame for what it is, a feeling, not a fact. And we start to challenge the narratives it has created in our minds. The more we practice speaking our shame, the less power it holds over us. We start to recognize that our worth is not tied to our mistakes, that being imperfect does not make us unlovable. We realize that everyone experiences shame in some form, and that it's a shared part of the human condition. This realization doesn't erase shame, but it does make it easier to confront and overcome. Ultimately, shame can only thrive in the dark. When we bring it into the light through conversation, storytelling, or simply naming it aloud, we rob it of its power. We create space for healing, growth, and connection. And in doing so, we remind ourselves and others that we are not defined by our shame, but by the courage we show in facing it. As we wrap up, remember this vulnerability is not easy, and it's not always comfortable, but it is essential. It's the birthplace of every meaningful thing we hope to create: love, joy, creativity, and connection. So let's choose courage over fear, authenticity over perfection, and connection over isolation. Thank you.